Perhaps you've heard the story of my vocation before. I was 16 years old. I was young and impressionable, but I knew what I wanted to be when I grew up. I wanted to be a lawyer. Because I grew up, I often say I come from the cornfields of Ohio to the corn tortillas of Texas. And in the middle of the cornfields of Ohio, in the village in which I was raised, the most prestigious position in the village, it seemed at that time, was the village attorney, the lawyer in the town, who came to speak to our 8th grade class. His name was Mike Kelbley, and at that moment I said, I want to be like Mike. I want to be an attorney. I knew from the 8th grade onward that that was what I wanted to be in life. I wanted to be a lawyer. But I often refer to the words of the prophet Jeremiah. Jeremiah says, Lord, you have duped me, and I have allowed myself to be duped. Because though I was active in the church for many years, I was an organist from the age of 12 to the age of 18. I was an organist, very involved in the church. My parents, we lived right beside the church, so we were very involved in the church. But I never thought about being a priest. Until one day I went on a retreat, and I didn't want to go on this retreat. But those of you who are middle children or younger children know how this goes. The older sibling does something, and so there's a certain expectation that you'll do it too, right? My older brother went on this retreat 2 years before me, so it was expected that I would go on this retreat. I didn't want to go on this retreat. But what sweetened the deal was that by going on this retreat, I got out of an English exam that I was supposed to have that Friday. And so I went on the retreat. No. Lord, you have duped me, and I have allowed myself to be duped. I went on the retreat, and toward the end of the retreat, Father Kevin Shavilsky, at that time a conventual Franciscan friar and priest, now an independent Catholic priest in Louisville, Kentucky. Father Kevin Shavilsky pulled me aside, and he said, have you ever thought about being a priest? And no one had ever asked me that question, so it had taken me back. Because I knew what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a lawyer. But he asked me the question, have you ever thought about being a priest? And he said, if you ever like to talk about it, come and visit me. So that summer while I'm mowing lawns, which is what I did to make money as a sophomore, when I'm mowing lawns that summer, the more I thought about it, the more I thought, I need to go and visit this man. And when I visited him, he said, you want to be a lawyer? That's cool. You can be a lawyer and a priest. You could be a doctor and a priest, a chaplain and a priest. Priests do all sorts of things. They do more than just work in parishes and churches. But isn't that usually, when we think of priests, we think of a priest with a congregation working in a parish setting. So the light bulb went off at that point. I was 16 years old, thinking to myself I could be a lawyer and a priest. And it was really for the next 15 years that I thought I would be one day a lawyer and a priest, until the Spirit threw me a curveball in 2003, whole different story for another day. The lesson that came to me in all of that was that priests, what we do as priests and as ministers in the church, it's not incompatible with ministry in other ways, with other things that we do in other facets of life. You could be a priest in the independent Catholic tradition. We know this well. You can be a priest and all sorts of other things. You could be a deacon and all sorts of other things, a bishop, and all sorts of other things. I think that's one of the beauties of the independent Catholic tradition. It's part of the beauty of having a working clergy, is that many of us support ourselves in other ways. But the Roman Catholic Church, in which I was formed, the Roman Catholic Church has some great wisdom in having many parishes, and let's talk about why that is. Why would the Roman Catholic Church have parishes? Because the church learned long ago the lesson that community organizers continue to spread today, that power and influence in this world come in one of two ways. If you want to have power and or influence in this world, there are two ways to go about that. Organizing people and or organizing money. Think about this for a moment. Any elected official, any politician that you know, what did that politician do to get into office? He or she organized people to get to the polls and vote for him or her. He or she organized the money, the resources, to be able to make that possible. If you organize people and or resources, that is the path to influence and power in this world. The Roman Catholic Church perfected it. because the Roman Catholic Church had this idea that if we use whatever human sentiments, like guilt, to get people into our churches every Sunday, we're organizing people. And once we have those people gathered together, if we pass around the basket, pass the plate, then suddenly we're not only organizing people, we're organizing resources, right? And especially if we were able to create a sort of pyramid structure, a pyramid scheme, where the money starts flowing upward, then suddenly it creates this situation where monies are flowing to the top of this scheme, and we suddenly have a lot of resources organized. Many of you know that before I was part of the independent Catholic tradition, I was a Roman Catholic priest for over 10 years at Cristo Rey, a parish that we grew to be Austin's largest Spanish-speaking community. 9 Sunday Masses. 9 Sunday Masses. The first 10 months I was there, I celebrated them alone until they sent me an associate pastor. I would celebrate the Saturday evening Mass, wake up in the morning and do 5 Masses in a row, take a 3-hour nap, and that was like a deep sleep, and then come back and celebrate the last 2 or 3 in the evening. It was my way, it was our way in the Roman Catholic Church of gathering together all these people. We grew this parish from 2,300 people to over 5,000 people a weekend, and you can imagine when you get 5,000 people together, you're organizing people, which likely explains why I'm in elected office today. And we were organizing resources, because at Cristo Rey, we were famous for having 2 collections. I'm not proud of it, but we just thought to ourselves, we have various needs that we want to meet, like the building fund. And so we'd pass the plate once, and we'd pass the plate again, right? The second Sunday of the month was the social ministry collection. The third Sunday of the month was maintenance or whatever. It was our way of organizing people and organizing resources. I say all this today because in the independent Catholic tradition, what we notice is that there are fewer large communities. And so this is something that I think about quite a bit. I think it's something that we in Austin talk about. Recently, I traveled to Louisville, Kentucky in September to celebrate a friend's 70th birthday, or that's why he thinks that I flew to Louisville. And I did celebrate with him his birthday one evening, but then the next day, it was simply my being able to explore the independent Catholic churches of Louisville, Kentucky. Before my plane left late that afternoon, I said I'm going to visit all 3 independent Catholic churches of which I'm aware in Louisville and check them out. One, I didn't get to see much because obviously they worship in a facility that's owned by another church, similar to our situation here, and no one was around. The other, no one was around during the week, in the same way that really no one is around here during the week. The third one, though, Father Lawman Chibundi leads Rabboni community in Louisville, Kentucky, and we see pictures of him on the internet of what appears to be a vibrant community. So I said, here's a pastor who's in a situation similar to mine. I want to call him up so that we can have lunch and share what's going on in your parish, what's going on in my parish, and we can sort of build some community as pastors. And one thing that I've been thinking about since that visit in September is how is it that persons like myself and those of us here in Austin and Father Chibundi and others, how it is that we might be able to inspire one another to think about how it is that we in the independent Catholic tradition could enjoy more power and influence if we wanted to. I'm not suggesting that's the end goal here, but at the same time I am suggesting that there are other churches who've mastered this. And until we think about this, independent Catholicism will continue to enjoy various challenges that result from not having resources. It was a delight for us here in Austin to be able to reach out to many clergy and say, if you'd like to come to Austin, we will help to make it possible. How is that possible? Because here in Austin we found some way to organize people and to organize resources. We're getting ready to celebrate confirmations. We typically suggest, we don't charge for sacraments. People have this mistaken notion that priests charge for sacraments. We don't do anything like that. But we do suggest that if you're grateful to God for the gift, for instance, of the Archbishop coming to town for your confirmation, we'd be happy to accept any donation for that. And people we found respond generously enough that we are able to have, for instance, this gathering of clergy simply from the donations that we'll see coming in from confirmation on Saturday evening. It's about organizing people and organizing resources.